What's up, guys? How are you? Welcome into a Saturday morning episode of the Daily Juice Podcast. My name is Matt Perrault. You guys can follow me across all of my socials, and it did not end. It happened again. We went 1-2 again for a fourth consecutive day. This has just been a brutal week, and I've had weeks where I've gone 0-4, and I've lost 4 units on one day, but this dribble and drip and Oklahoma blowing a massive lead against Alabama. Crimson Tide were down 17-0, and then they just eviscerated Brett Venables' team at home. Oklahoma, my goodness gracious, that was a coaching clinic. Bravo, Alabama. What a win. OKC lost the game outright. I was trying to get a layup there. I was like, yeah, I'm cold. Let's just go for a layup play. Nope. Anthony Edwards over 4.5 rebounds. That was the bet that cashed on the day. That was easy. That cashed in the first half. So I guess when we're getting them right, we're getting them right. But 1-2, down 1.2 units again here. So what do we do when we're ice cold? Well, I'm going to do something kind of dumb, because these days are going to be few and far between. If I lose, I lose. And if you are losing money with me, okay, fade me. I don't think it's a bad idea to fade my plays, okay? But just understand, and it's always important for me to reiterate this whenever we're talking about me losing, that if you are losing and it's money you cannot afford to lose, it's Christmas, it's the holidays, don't bet, okay? I am compensated really well, and I'm taken care of, and I have multiple revenue streams, and these plays, I have bankroll management, okay? 3 to 5% plays on my bankroll. I can lose every bet I make for the rest of 2025, and nothing changes in my life, okay? So this is, I've never promised to make anybody rich. I've never promised to do anything but hopefully have fun with you guys and be an entertainment outlet and to get you away from everything else in the world that is a distraction or is a bummer or a downer. I just want to hang out and watch sports and bet sports with you guys. Okay, that's what the whole crux of this podcast is. So just understand, this is a tough time of the year for a lot of people, okay? If you are an addicted gambler or you're someone who cannot stop gambling, please go to a meeting. Please make a phone call. In this podcast right now, granted, you'll fade me, and then I'm going to go and wipe the board today. Okay? That's what will happen. This is the problem with what happens with me when it comes to betting or fading plays. It's that you don't know when I'm going to go hot. Cold, and it turns on a dime, right? So you got to bet what you think. If you like my bets, great. You want to fade it, awesome. You want to follow it, awesome. But just understand that this time of the year, this can be a very lonely time for a lot of people. It can be a very difficult time if you do have a problem, that if you don't have to bet, don't. If it's no longer fun, it's a stupid line, but it's true, okay? When the fun stops, time to get some help, okay? You should be able to watch a game without having any money on it. You should be able to watch a game and enjoy it for just the game itself. And if you're losing, okay, dial back. I always shrink. When I'm cold, I shrink my unit size. Always, okay? It's like shrinkage, jumping into a cold lake. We shrink, okay? When we're cold, turtle. And I'm turtling at the moment, except I'm firing on 5 games today. Why? Because it's the college football playoffs. It's NFL football on Saturday. If I go 0-5, I go 0-5. We're already down for the week. Let's just fire. Let's have some fun. I got 5 bets, 2 NFL plays, 3 college football plays. It's a huge football Saturday. This is awesome. If you have a smoker, if you have a grill, you got to enjoy this, okay? We're not going to have this again. Really, we're not going to have this again for a long time. These days are fleeting. These days are going to be gone very soon. And we're going to be left with NBA and NHL sports on Saturday, and that's it. And I love betting those sports, but it's not the same. It's not the same as football. You get 5 football games today that all have significant consequences and big meanings. This is a big day. It's a great day. So I'm firing in all 5 games. If I miss on all 5 plays, so be it, okay? Just so be it. if you want to find a place to play. And by the way, Hard Rock, they got some good prices today. If you have Hard Rock in your state, I really would go take advantage of this offer with Hard Rock Bet. I was very impressed with the numbers that Hard Rock Bet had for my plays. And Vegas had very similar plays, but I was impressed with the numbers that Hard Rock had to go ahead and bet. So there's some very tasty numbers that are lurking around out there right now at Hard Rock Bet. And if you've not taken advantage of what they have right now for you, well, the brand new For You page recommends picks that are your favorite that you can bet on. The For You page has a lot of really cool things on it, like your favorite players, favorite teams, favorite players, all right there at a simple tap. When you sign up, $5 bet, any game. If it wins, you guys will score $150 in bonus bets. Hard Rock Bet has new promos daily, so check out and download the Hard Rock Bet app and make your first deposit today. Let's talk and let's start with the NFL, and we'll get to football. Let's start with Philadelphia and Washington. This number hit 7, and I went, okay, I'm wrong. Take the Commanders. I was wondering how much buy-in people were going to give to the Eagles, and would we get to 7? And we're at 7. And I'm actually pretty surprised that we are at 7 for this game, simply because of what the Eagles did last week against the Raiders, where they won 31-0. However, Jalen Hurts, the numbers are pretty bad for Jalen Hurts. On the road against the NFC East, he is 1-5 ATS. In fact, Jalen Hurts has just been brutal in the month of December, 13, 18, and 1 against the spread in the month of December. He is 5-7-1 overall against the NFC East. The Eagles were double-digit favorites against the Raiders, and now they're laying points on the road against a divisional opponent in the Commanders. Under Jalen Hurts, the Eagles are just 3-6 ATS the week following a double-digit favorite line. Look, Dan Quinn has been pretty good as a home dog. Marcus Mariota is a serviceable quarterback. And this Eagles team going on the road, you're going to get the best effort out of the Commanders. It's a standalone game. I couldn't believe we got 7. Like I think 7's the right number. I think there's a good shot that the Eagles win the game, but they win the game by 4, by 5, 7 or more. We're talking about a 2-score game. The Eagles are going to win this game. I mean, even if they're up in the fourth quarter, this feels like it's a backdoor situation where the Commanders somehow find a way to cover. I don't love the Commanders here, but I just don't like Philadelphia. They'll win the game, okay? Philly will win. It's a hat and T-shirt game. They're going to win the division. They're going to win the NFC East today by beating the Commanders. I just think you take the points. 7, once it hit 7, it changed my opinion. I initially was going to come in and take and lay the 6.5 with the Eagles, but I think there's too much groupthink going on. I'm coming in here. Give me the 7. Commanders +7 for 1.1 units. Second game, we go to the Bears hosting the Packers. The Bears offense, they are 11-3 to the team total over this year. Their team total is set at 23.5. That's tied for the best mark in the NFL with the Cowboys and the Jaguars. Ben Johnson's been amazing. Offense has been unreal. 365 points through 14 games, only 10 turnovers. It's the most points with the fewest turnovers through 14 games in franchise history. The Bears were one bad throw by Caleb Williams in the fourth quarter of the first matchup from tying that game at Lambeau. And now here comes the Packers with a banged-up Josh Jacobs, a banged-up Christian Watson, and a Micah Parsons injury that will keep him out for the rest of the year. I mean, these are big injuries. Big injuries on offense, big injuries on defense. You can't just gloss it over and just be like, it's not that big of a deal. While I like the team total to go over, there is a little bit of a concern with weather. Now, it didn't matter on Thursday, okay? But the same wind that was in Seattle on Thursday is now in Chicago today. The wind, though, will be the reverse of the game in Seattle. In Seattle, the pregame was the windiest. Then the first quarter, second quarter, and by the third and the fourth quarter, the wind was gone. And it was open season, and the scoreboard erupted, and the game flew over. It's the opposite. The first half should be pretty calm, not a big deal. But as the game progresses, the wind is projected to get worse and worse and worse, and it could really limit scoring in this game in the fourth quarter. At home this year, the Bears, who are 10-4 overall, scored 31 points against the Cowboys, 26 points against the Saints, 24 points against the Giants, 31 points against the Steelers, and 31 points up against the Browns. They did lose the first game of the year at home, scoring 24 points, 27-24. I think the Bears team total over 23.5 is a really good look. But in case I'm wrong about that, I'm not jumping up and down about betting totals right now. I'm just a little bit on the gun-shy nature with totals. I think the Bears win the game. It's a night game at night game at Soldier Field. The Bears' offensive line's been so good. It's just been so good. They've run the ball so effectively, and I think they even it up here. They're laying 1.5 points. I think that's a safer play here, even though the Bears have been historically bad against the Packers. They're 1-12 straight up in their last 13 meetings. They're 2-11 ATS in those 13 meetings. The Bears have only been favored to beat the Packers 4 times in total in their last 35 meetings. That's amazing. And the Bears have gone 12-28 ATS against the Packers in those games. It's been a great thing to bet the Packers because they have owned the Bears. I just think this at night, Soldier Field, division game, this is the time for Caleb Williams. This is the time for this offense. And their defense played pretty good last week against the Browns. I know it was the Browns. Just teams coming off of a game against Denver or 0-6 ATS this season. Packers coming off of a loss to Denver. Tough loss to Denver. Bad injuries in that game. On the road, divisional game. Back-to-back road trips. Not great. Ben Johnson's 8-5-1 ATS as the head coach of the Bears. I'm going to back Ben Johnson here. We'll go ahead. I like team total, but I think Ben Johnson and the Bears -1.5 here today up against the Packers. Again, I think the under for the Commanders-Eagles is a decent play. I think the team total over for the Bears, decent play, but I'm a little gun-shy on the totals at the moment, so I'm just going to bet sides. Commanders +7, Bears -1.5. To the college football playoffs we go. Only a couple books right now sit at 2.5 for Texas A&M. Hard Rock Bet is one of them that is sitting there at 2.5. Other books here in Vegas as well sitting at 2.5. Massive money, massive amounts of money on Miami. Very surprised. I'm not going to lie. I'm pretty surprised at the amount of money coming in on Miami because of the way that home teams. I mean, Bama won last night on the road. That was the first road team to win in the first round of the playoffs. We hadn't seen that. And they were down 17-0. They were getting boat raced. And then everything changed. So now here we go with A&M at home. It's pretty much 50-50 on both the side and the total. Like there's equal money on both sides. People like the over, people like the under. It's 48.5 from a total perspective. A&M -2.5 at Hard Rock Bet. Other books here in Vegas, 2.5. 2.5. Now, Texas A&M having an opportunity to play at home. You guys know how I feel about A&M. I bet them to win the whole thing last night. I like A&M, but their numbers at home have not been great, okay? They're 2-5 ATS at home. They've lost 3 games in a row against the spread. They didn't cover against Texas, didn't cover against Stanford, didn't cover against South Carolina. They won 2 of those games, but they didn't cover. They did win and cover against Missouri. They won and covered against LSU. They won and covered against Florida. They won and covered against Mississippi State. The level of competition that A&M has played this year, Notre Dame, Auburn, LSU, Missouri, Texas. Miami played Notre Dame in week 1. And then they didn't play anybody else. I guess, they played Florida. I guess, like you say Florida, they beat Florida at home by 19. But, okay, they won by 19, A&M won by 17. Both teams were at home. That's a wash, right? Other than that, I mean, they played Louisville at home. They lost the game. I was on Louisville for that game. They played SMU on the road, laying 8.5. They lost by 6. That was the last game that they lost. On the road, Miami's 2-2, but Miami only played 4 games away from home all year. They played at Pitt, won by 31, at Vautech, won by 17. Come on. We're not really impressed by that. They played at SMU, they lost by 6, and they played at Florida State, laying 3.5, and they won by 6. Okay, so, it's okay. 2-2. They didn't cover against Vautech. They were laying 17.5 against Vautech, and they won by 17. So 2-2 mark away from home, but only 4 games away from home. And now you're going to College Station, Texas, in the SEC, in the South, to play a really tough and speedy team for A&M at 2.5. I'm just very surprised. I think people think that Mario Cristobal is going to run the football, and Carson Beck, because he played really well down the stretch, that's going to translate here up against an SEC team. Maybe this is my SEC bias showing, and I'm just way too in on A&M, and I'm going to lose 2 bets on one game. I'm going to lay the 2.5, and I got the future on them. Maybe I lose 2 units in one play, which is very possible, but I'm going to go ahead and take A&M. Give me Texas A&M minus 2.5 for 1.1 units. Now, have you guys gone and checked out the prop bet cheat sheet? If you want to play props today for the NBA or for the NHL or anything else, you can do that. The NFL games as well. You can do that. And we actually will give you BettingPros Premium. You can claim your 6-month free upgrade simply by going to a partner sportsbook and making a deposit. You get to a partner sportsbook by going to bettingpros.com/premium. Click on a link, make a deposit, make a wager, and we'll give you 6 months of BettingPros Premium for free. That's a $75 value to jump in. Check it out at bettingpros.com/premium. Next 2 games involve 2 teams that people think don't belong in the college football playoffs. Tulane and JMU. Talk about Tulane. They're losing their coach. Okay. The JMU is too. But both these schools are losing their coaches. But Tulane comes in here with an attitude. Tulane comes in with a moxie that I really liked. I've been on this Tulane team most of the year, and I faded them against Memphis, and it burned me. I got back on the bandwagon against North Texas, and they won the game by 13 points as 1-point dogs. I like the quarterback. I like the offense. They played Ole Miss and got beat by 35 points. They've played in this building. They did not have any game film on Ole Miss. Now they have game film on Ole Miss, and Ole Miss is without Lane Kiffin. Now, I know Charlie Weiss Jr. is the offensive coordinator, and he's sticking around, so there's some continuity there with Ole Miss, but these kids have been through a lot. And now we're laying 17.5 points for Ole Miss. I know they won by 35. I understand that. I know everyone's going to run to that and go, that's why it's going to be out. They're going to kill them. I just don't think they get killed. I think Tulane's got a shot to hang around here. It's a playoff game, right? It's a playoff game without your coach. If this game is tight late, you don't think Ole Miss is going to start to get nervous that they're going to be embarrassed by losing to a team that they have no business losing to? They killed these guys by 35 points earlier in the year. They should do the exact same thing. I just think the Green Wave have gotten much better since that first matchup against Ole Miss, and I don't know if Ole Miss has gotten much better given what's going on with Lane Kiffin and how everything else is going wrong, how many players are going to LSU and how many coaches are going to LSU. I think this could be a team in the Rebels that might be distracted in this game, that may not be focused as they should be. And Tulane's got a really good coach. They got a really good quarterback. And I think they could put a scare into Ole Miss. I've been saying it all week. I got to put my money where my mouth is. I've been talking about it all week. I got to lay it. I got to take it, rather. Tulane, plus 17.5 on the road at Ole Miss. Yes, that would probably mean they need to make it a game in the fourth quarter. Maybe they backdoor it. Maybe they get a late touchdown to cover, but I just think in a playoff game, 17.5 is a lot of points. Give me Tulane, plus 17.5. And finally, we go to Oregon and JMU. I thought about laying the 20.5 points. It's now down to 20.5. I was like, let's lay the 20.5 with Oregon. I chose not to because there's enough people that I respect, people whose opinion I respect, who are all over JMU. They think JMU is going to play a grinder of a football game. They're going to run the ball. They're going to shorten the clock, and they're not going to let Oregon go and do typical Oregon things. I think Oregon in their offensive line, I know JMU hangs their hat on their defensive line. I know people are talking about how good JMU's metrics are when it comes to stopping the run. But my problem with all of this is who they stopped the run against. Like we're not talking about the same level of competition that Oregon faced this year. So JMU's mark, their record for rushing, averaging 2.5 yards per rush, doesn't really impress me. 2.5 yards per rush. Oregon runs the ball at a 5.7 yard clip. If Oregon breaks off a bunch of long runs, this game is over. Okay? It is over. And what do we know about Oregon? The thing we know about Oregon is that they don't stop scoring. Okay? Oregon scored, in terms of what they've done this year against, you might call inferior competition. Oregon against Montana State, 59. Oklahoma State, 69. Rutgers, 56. Minnesota, 42. USC, 42. Okay? They score. They scored 41 against Oregon State. They scored 30 against Penn State on the road in Happy Valley. These guys can score. And at a blink, they can score. JMU, okay, they beat Troy 31-14. They beat Coastal 59-10. They beat App State 58-10. Okay. I'm not saying those teams are complete cupcakes. They're not. But they're not, Penn State on the road, Iowa on the road, USC and Minnesota at home. Like, this is not, Oregon's level of competition is a lot more difficult. They lost to Oregon played Indiana at home, lost 30-20, okay? Number one team in the country, number one seed in this tournament. So I think the best way to approach this is by going to a team total situation for Oregon. The total is 45.5. The team total for Oregon is 33.5. I think Oregon scores 35 points. Okay. Do I think they score 5 touchdowns? I do. I think they score 5 touchdowns, even against a JMU defense that on paper have had a really good season. I just don't think the numbers are going to play out like people think with JMU. And JMU might be able to move the football. I mean, JMU's offense, one thing I'll give you is that JMU's offense scored 36.7 points per game this year. That was top 10 in the country, okay? They can run the ball, 5.5 yards per rush. That's 10th best in the country. 8.1 yards per pass play. That's 32nd best in the country. I like JMU's offense more than anything, and I need JMU to score 20 points. If I can get 20 points out of JMU, I think there's a real good shot that we're getting 35, 40 points here out of Oregon. We know that Oregon's not stopping, like I said. You can bet the over. If you want to bet the over in the game, go right ahead. I think that's probably a pretty decent play. But I'm concerned about JMU's ability to score against Oregon's defense on the road at Oregon. They might not be able to do anything against the team speed for Oregon. I think the best play, you can lay the 20.5 if you want. That's a good play. But rather than sweating out a backdoor, let's just take team total. I'm going to go Oregon team total over 33.5 for -110. All right. So here are the 5 plays for today on a Saturday. Commanders +7, Bears -1.5, A&M -2.5, Tulane +17.5, and Oregon team total over 33.5. That is a full day of football viewing for us coming up here for today. My name is Matt Perrault. You guys can follow me across all of my socials at Sports Talk Matt every morning, wherever you guys get your podcasts. It is the Daily Juice.